Welcome to The Valley's Voice, Arizona Live's Legal Truths.
Hello and welcome to The Valley's Voice, Arizona Live's Legal Truths with Travis Meltzer, founding and managing attorney at Valley Injury Law. I'm your host, Evan Mack. As a practicing attorney in both Arizona and Nevada, Travis leverages his defense experience to advocate for individuals injured due to others' negligence. His firm chooses quality over quantity, ensuring each client receives the dedicated support they need throughout their case. How you doing, Travis?
I'm good, Evan. How you doing?
Good. This episode is what insurance companies don't want you to know, and I'm sure this is going to be a doozy. Now, we talked about this in previous episodes, but you did work for the other side. But what did you learn about how insurance companies operate during your time on the other side?
Well, how much time you got, honestly, is what it comes down to. But, the first thing that comes to mind really is their job is to make sure your case or claim or injury is worth as little as humanly possible. Their adjusters are one thing that people don't know. Here, I'll start from the beginning. Once your accident happens, if you don't get an attorney, you try to open a claim with the person who hits you, their insurance. Seems to be a pretty common thing. People generally know how to do that. The adjuster gets assigned. Now, that adjuster is the first line of defense for insurance companies. Their job is to just offer you money right away. Just say, hey, $1,500 plus reasonable medical expenses. And what that means is that gives them the freedom to say, hey, you know what? Your hospital was too expensive. I'm only going to give you $500 for that, or this and that. So their job is to immediately shoo you away with money. If that doesn't work and you get an attorney, a new adjuster is assigned. And those adjusters understand more along the lines what attorneys' offices do, what I'm going to say, things like that. And some of these people even went to law school. So they really do understand, the protection. So again, this is a second line of defense to diminish your claim. So it's just one of those things that people don't understand, that their job, even if it's your own insurance company, I don't know why people have these connections or loyalty to insurance company. Like, I've been a client of this insurance company for 20 years. Why are they doing this now? It's like, honestly, because they happily took your money for the last 20 years and now you're asking them to spend it. And that's really what it comes down to. And they don't care. I mean, ultimately, you are a dollar that they are simply trying to save. So ultimately, what it comes down to is just know, the number one thing I got to tell people is their job is to make your case worth as little as humanly possible and get you to go away. They're just trying to protect their big bank behind them.
You talked about adjusters, but how do they evaluate your claims? How you give some ways they try to minimize those payouts, like you were kind of alluding to it before.
Yeah. So what they'll do is, every insurance company, at least recently, there are programs. It is literally, they plug your bills in to programs that will read through your medical bills and records line by line and identify issues in those records. That's why it's so important to go to medical providers that understand what those insurance companies are looking for. That is a whole other element of this. But what the adjusters will do, they'll take your medical bills and records and just upload them to a database, and they'll run it against a million different things. The best example I can give you is, if your emergency room, let's say the emergency room visit was $5,000, just using that number. They will take that bill, plug it in, and then compare it to hundreds of emergency room bills, and then say, well, here's the lowest one we found, so that's what we think is reasonable. So their whole job is literally to diminish your claim line by line. And that's why it is so important, because any misstep by a doctor or a lawyer, it could make your case at least more difficult moving forward.
You being on both sides, I'm sure you have stories of, different, unsavory tactics you've probably been accustomed to. But is there one in particular that actually even surprised you?
Yeah. So I'll give you two. One, I'm still dealing with it to this day. Insurance companies will go and pay a medical bill. Behind the scenes, will go and say, hey, you have a pending hospital bill. We're going to just go negotiate with the hospital and pay it, and then not even acknowledge that bill anymore since we paid it. So they are essentially trying to skirt around what's called the collateral source rule, where they're not allowed to say your insurance paid it, your health insurance. They're not allowed to say, hey, your health insurance paid it, so we don't have to. They're not allowed to do that. So what they're trying to do now is they'll go directly to the providers and say, hey, Evan has an outstanding bill of $5,000. If we pay you right now $1,500, will you call it good? And sometimes they will. And so then they will no longer consider that bill. That it has been the dirtiest tactic I've seen in yeah, it's insane. Even the courts, especially here in Arizona, are still kind of iffy on what that really means to the value of the case. So insurance companies will use test cases to just run issues, they know they're skating the line and they'll test it. They'll test the waters. So they'll say, well, hey, look, there's no law in Arizona against it. That doesn't mean it's wrong, or that doesn't mean it's right, but we're going to try and then just see how it plays out in the courts. And then they'll use that as their test case. And unfortunately, I think one of my clients is that test case. So that's my biggest issue that I have. The second one, I think I mentioned in a prior episode, it's the private investigator on a plaintiff, where they will hire somebody to follow you if you are claiming something. I recently got a report from this poor client of mine. There's pictures of her walking her children down her neighborhood, and it's nuts. And she has no clue. I had no clue they hired a private investigator. So just understand the length insurance companies will go to, I always say diminish your claim, but when it comes down to it, it's protect their own money. They have no interest in paying claims that they should be paying. So they will do anything and everything to really just diminish what you're trying to claim.
With that being said, how important is documentation when it comes to this? Is it as important, even though they do all those different things you're describing, but is documentation still paramount?
Yeah, it really is. And it ultimately just comes down to dealing with the right people and getting the right advice. And I know that it's kind of circular reasoning, but ultimately it's one of those things that documentation of your injuries are important no matter what. You need to go into an insurance claim understanding that no matter what they do, what you do, even if it's 100% right, you did everything right, they're still going to find something, because that is their job. Their job is to make sure that you are not going to get what you think you deserve. And ultimately, it's up to you really to follow directions and make sure you're doing the right things. But also it's just really knowing and understanding, no matter what, these people are not on your side. It is a business based on promising that they will pay when they are needing to. And then when they need to, their job shifts from then trying to pay as little as humanly possible. So it's a weird business. I mean, whoever thought about it and created it, good on them. They're probably making a ton of. It's just one of those things where if any other business was run the way insurance companies run, I don't think it would last very long.
So where do you come in when it comes to, protecting clients from being taken advantage of by the claims process? What's you feel like you're like that, kind of like that last line of defense? Like, well, what can you and your firm do?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the earlier in your case, obviously, as soon as you can, the better for us to get involved. And it's because we can cut off communication. Because ultimately, the first thing we do once a client signs up is we send a letter of representation to this insurance company. And what it does is they are no longer allowed to contact you in any way. So what that does is it honestly just allows for you to just live. One, not get 1,000 calls a day, people offering you money, this, there, and that. And then also, it allows for me to really be your filter, where you can tell me anything. You can say, hey, Travis, I actually think it was kind of my fault. I don't really know what to do. Or I'm actually not that hurt today, but let me see how I feel tomorrow. I'd rather you say that to me than it be on the insurance company. So ultimately, what I like to be is that, well, one, like you said, last line of defense, but also that buffer where I allow my clients to vent and talk to staff and really give us all the information that they possibly can, even if it was detrimental to the case. But at the very least, they know we won't use it against them. So we will guide them down the right path to either correct what wrong had happened or, unlike the insurance company, diminish the downfalls of the case. So really highlight the big parts of somebody's case. So really it just comes down to being the filter, and then being, again, what we do is I represent those people's claims and hope, that they are just, well, one, being honest with me, but also making sure that they don't say the wrong thing to the wrong people.
So it's interesting because you talked about it before, but why shouldn't a person, take that first offer, that quick settlement, even if the number sounds like, tantalizing? Why shouldn't they take that number and just get it over with?
Right. Well, I'll put it as there's a reason it's the first offer. It's one of those things where in no shape or form, I always describe it because people understand real estate more, even though I'm, anyway, when you make an offer on a house, you or a condo or whatever you're going to do, even eBay, that's the best way to do it. When you make an offer on eBay, when you make your first offer, damn sure that it's not your best or top or anything. That's not as high as you want to go. Because if it was, you wouldn't have made the offer. That's really what it comes down to. So
99 cents. I always do 99 cents.
Always. And so ultimately, no matter how good it sounds, I promise your case is worth more. It 10 times out of 11 at least kind of thing, it's going to be worth more than they're offering you that first day. It's because what they're trying to do is pay you before you understand how hurt you really are. So when you get paid and you sign that paperwork, your case is closed. You could wake up tomorrow and understand that, or find out that you have a broken rib or this or herniated disc. You sign that paperwork, you released that insurance company and that person of all responsibility for just a quick sign. So never take the first offer. If your attorney tells you to take the first offer, you should probably talk to somebody else. And so that's just one of those things where understand, like I said, look at it like a garage sale. You're never going to come in and say, hey, I'll take that stove for $1, knowing that that's not the best offer you're going to get. So just understand your case will be worth more than any adjuster tells you it is.
So what's the most important thing, in your opinion, that a client can do to protect themselves, like right after talking to that insurer?
So what I would say, without being too patting myself on the back, get an attorney, but also just don't talk to them. Understand that their job is to make it sound like they're trying to help you, that they are sitting there and trying to help you. They aren't. They do not care. They don't care that you have to go to work tomorrow and your car won't work. Their job is to get your file off of their desk. And something that they will do anything. They will go to all lengths. Even another horror story I have for a case where a client got rear-ended, significant head trauma, opened a claim from the hospital with the other insurance company. She then goes through the claims process. I don't remember the insurance company. Goes through the claims process, includes banking information, or not banking information, excuse me, contact information, including email, things like that. The insurance company Zelled her $1,000 and tried to argue it was settled and said, you gave us this information, so you accepted it. This is full and final. Luckily, she did hire an attorney, myself and my staff, and we were able to get her beyond that $1,000. But it just goes to show that even in the intake process where you are just filling out a form online, that they will try to use anything and everything to just make you go away. So if anything, share as little information with the other insurance company as humanly possible, and get an attorney. Get somebody who knows what they're doing with the insurance companies.
Wow. If you're in Nevada or Arizona, you got to hire your firm, man. You work both sides, man. Yes, it's a very dangerous man. He knows how the soup is made in both parts of the kitchen.
Exactly. I know the front and the back of the house.
That's amazing, man. We hope you all enjoyed today's episode of The Valley's Voice, and I hope it has helped you clarify what personal injury law actually covers. For more information, you can contact Travis at azvalleyinjurylaw.com. Like, subscribe, leave a review, and listen more to this information from Travis and his firm. It's pretty awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.